I've never found a love like this. I've never found a love like this.
Yes, beautifully sung by Alfie Jones. I probably shouldn't have said your name live on air, but there we go. I'm here now. Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to E20 Zone TV. I don't know what James is doing this evening. I don't know what the excuse is tonight. But unfortunately for you guys, you're joined by myself and Alfie again. Alfie, how are you doing, mate?
I'm very swell.
You're very swell. That's very nice to know. I love a swellness. It's a very swell word to say. Anyway, apart from all of that, West Ham United are playing a football match tomorrow. You will join us for the Larnaca preview in the Europa Conference League. Not that myself and Alfie know too much about it, but before we do get into the video, if you guys are new around here, don't forget, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you have not already to E20 Zone TV. If you want to consider becoming a member, of course you can as well. And I will be trying to interact with the live chat as much as possible throughout the show because Lucas isn't here tonight, so I'm the one that's in control. And we'll see how badly Tom can cock it up because he's never used StreamYard before. Anyway, Alfie, do you have a clue, apart from the fact that it's in Ayia Napa, who the hell Larnaca
are? Yes, I've done a little bit of research. They're second in the Cyprian League. I don't know how many games there are in the league, but so far they've played 26. They've won 18. Let me get the stats up. Sorry. They've won 18. They've drawn 3 and lost 5. Their squad is valued at 14 million euros according to Transfer Market.
Have you just been reading Transfer Market for all of your stats?
Yeah. No, I looked up their league on Google, but I accidentally put the Greek league to start with, so they didn't show up. And in their last game, they won 3-1. And a player called Trikovsky, don't know who he is, but he scored a hat-trick.
Fair enough.
A team called Paralimni. So
realistically, what we're saying is, after all of that, is that none of us know anything about Larnaca. Fantastic. I think that's what we're trying to say. Basically, I imagine did they come through the, I really should have looked myself, but did they come through the playoffs into this round, or did they drop down from the Europa League, or did they top their group, or they couldn't have done, they had to have come through the playoffs. So do you know who they beat in the playoffs?
I'll have a quick look. Sorry, everyone. As you could imagine, we've not got a fondest of ideas about this.
Yeah, this is a fantastic. Really, probably should have done our research before hitting the go live button. Unfortunately, Noah has had a bit of a bad day teething, so that's my excuse. I'm not sure what Alfie's is. But anyway, go on.
They beat a team called Dnipro 1-0 on aggregate to qualify for this round. And interestingly, they were dominated in the match. They had 38% possession, under half the amount of shots that Dnipro 1 had. And they started off with a 4-2-3-1 formation. And interestingly as well, they didn't start Trikovsky, who got a hat-trick in their last game. And all of their players, none of you would have ever heard of them.
Nice. Great. Well, if we can't talk about Larnaca, then we may as well talk about why we are here. And that is, unfortunately, about West Ham United. To be honest with you, I've tried to put Brighton to the back of my mind from the weekend. Obviously, I didn't come on to the show or anything that James and everybody did over the weekend because I was disgusted. That's probably the worst performance I've seen from West Ham in the last 10 years. The last game I can think about that was the year that we were, the last year at Upton Park, when we got beaten by Swansea, when we needed to win to get into Europe, or we were chasing down Man United at that point. And I think we got beat 4-1 and we just got completely turned over. And at the weekend, it was just shambolic. Not even a single shot registered in the second half. And a lot of blame, of course, will fall on David Moyes for that performance. But also, equally, I think the players need to have a look at themselves after the weekend. It's just my thoughts on it. But anyway, this is a new week. Everybody seems smiley, happy to be over on the plane. Are you expecting a similar 11 Westhamonline, seeing as I am in James's chair tonight, I will call you Westhamonline. Are you expecting a similar 11, or are we going to be completely changed to almost just, because of the weekend's result at Brighton?
I think we'll see a bit of a different 11. I don't think Moyes will risk losing the Villa match at this point. I think he also knows that if he doesn't win this match, he will immediately get the sack. But I think he'll weaken it a bit. Bowen seems to play, apart from my last FA Cup match prior to United, which was who did we play? Who was it that we played? Derby. And actually, never mind, he started in that as well. Bowen pretty much starts every match, and I think he'll start this one as well. He seems to, no matter what competition it is, Jarrod Bowen's in the starting lineup. There was a game that he didn't start. It was Man United. That's what I was thinking of. But pretty much every match Bowen starts, so I expect he will. I think Pablo Fornals will start because he's been unfairly treated this season in terms of game time. Manuel Lanzini to start, and to be honest, I think this is the sort of game that he could dominate against a shocking team, let's be honest. And Flynn Downs will probably play. If I'm honest with you, it just seems like a similar sort of standard of team to what we played in the group stages. So we should be turning them over. And Mr. Moyes and co have won 8 out of 8 so far in the Conference League. So you'd have to back them and say they're going to do it again.
Before we get on to quickly what you were saying there, he's not gone to the game, but he has just started a new job. And I think because Lucas is a lazy twat, he's tired. That's his excuse tonight. So we can all laugh at Lucas. That's absolutely fine. I think to touch on the first point, I think this could be if we have a bad result here, whether it be depending on if we drew and the manner in which we drew, I think it could be Moyes' last game. And I think obviously 100% if we lose this game, it will be Moyes' last game. Which I guess bittersweet after what happened, but there comes a point, and me and myself and Alfie have been probably two of the more staunch supporters of Moyes in the last year or so, more so than probably most people that have wanted him to go. But there comes a point that it doesn't look good. And the weekend's result after, I would say maybe like a boyish week after Forest and United, that it was things you could see that players were playing, but then at the weekend, it's just completely ruined it for me. But I'm kind of similar. I wouldn't change things too much. Obviously, I think a lot like last year, we had the choice between going for Europe again, trying to get Europa League, and actually playing in the Europa League. And Moyes decided to put all of his baskets into the Europa League towards the end of the season, which obviously backfired a little bit because we didn't end up winning the competition. But I think this year, this is the only way realistically that we are going to, A, get European football for a little while again next season. And I think, B, we actually have a chance of winning it. That's the problem. I think it becomes, unfortunately, we're not too good to go down. Every side obviously is any side can go down. It doesn't matter. But I think this competition, if we can stay in it, it has to be the number one priority, because unfortunately, yes, we could finish 14th or 15th in the league, and that means absolutely nothing other than maybe a little loss of revenue for the season. But if we want to get back into Europe, we have to win this competition. So I think this game's massive. I would slightly rotate. We'll get on to team selection and stuff like that soon. And let us know, obviously, down in the comments what you believe, or who you should believe to be starting tomorrow night. But is it going to be a case of, I would say, smash and grab, or should we really look to sort of dominate this side? I mean, on paper, Alfie, it's chalk and cheese between the two sides, but are we going to be sort of the West Ham that's going to turn up and just sort of snatch maybe a 1-0 win or a 2-0 win, or it's actually time for Moyes to maybe put the doubters to bed, to have 60-70% possession, which you should be having over a side like this, to put them away 3 or 4-0 in the first leg so we can afford to rest players next week, because obviously the Premier League is as important at the moment as well.
I think We need to look to try and dominate the game and play an attractive style of football. It'd be a bit embarrassing if we don't. But at the same time, the most important thing is the result. The main focus needs to be on the league. Mr. Moyes has proven in this competition that he is an expert. He's won 8 out of 8. He's the only manager in Europe to win every Conference League game so far this season. His win percentage in Europe as a West Ham manager is 70%, 20 games, 14 wins. So he's done an incredible job in Europe for West Ham. But it's about consistency now. He needs to maintain that because the league form this season from Moyes and the players has been disgraceful. We need to get this win done. But I think the main focus will be on the Aston Villa game. And Moyes is a very smart man, so I'm sure he'll know that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know people in the comment section, obviously, you probably gave up on Moyes a long time ago, judging by it. And I know some of the people in here that obviously have resented him for quite a while. I know, obviously, probably my main nemesis in here, Eastside Views, was saying it at the back end of last season. But unfortunately, I think at the time and the position we were in, it was very hard to sort of agree with that. And I still don't agree with it to a certain extent now, but it's got to the point where we're just going sideways and backwards. There's no progression really anymore under him. I think he's taken this sort of team as far as he can. But again, as I said, the weekend massively had to do with the players as well. The attitude was shocking from most of them. But in terms of actual players, I'm tempted to go a little bit younger and more hardworking. Westhamonline. I'm thinking I'd like to see the likes of Lanzini. I think Fornals has to start as well. I do want to see Scamacca because, unfortunately, even if he can't hit a barn door in the league and has been injured for quite some time, he can score goals in the Europa Conference League, which is the one thing he seems to have been doing. But because there's not really a lot to talk about, give me your starting 11. Who you think that's going to be on the team sheet for tomorrow night's game?
Yeah, I think Scamacca has to start. I think this is the sort of game that's perfect for a player like him because he'll have a lot of space in and around the box just because of how shit they are. And he's got a thunderous strike on him. So I'm sure he'll get... If he doesn't get a goal in this game, he should be ashamed of himself, and I'm sure he will. At centre-half, I'd play... The problem is we don't have a lot of centre-halves, but I'd play Tilo Kehrer. I'd probably also play Naya Figueroa again because I just want to see him try and regain his confidence, return to form, because I don't think he's been as good lately as he can be. I will be honest. Right back, I'd probably play Ben Johnson because Soufal's injured and Johnson needs to regain confidence. As much as I think he's a really poor player, the way he's played lately is crap even for him. So I'd like to see him improve and regain his confidence. And I think this sort of game's obviously perfect for that. Left back is definitely Aaron Creswell. It's absolute perfect game for Creswell. We're going to have a lot of the ball and he's one of our best players in terms of passing and keeping the ball. So this is perfect for him. He won't have to do a lot of running back and defending, you'd assume. So that's good for him as well. Midfield, you're going to play Flynn Downs, young, energetic. He's been probably our best player in the Conference League this season, so it's an obvious choice. Wouldn't be surprised if he fields Declan Rice, but I would personally play... I'd play Lanzini and Fornals. I'd play Downs as the DM. Reason for that is because, as I said, I think we should be having a lot of the ball, at least 60+% of the ball, and these two are great passers of the ball. Lanzini especially is perfect at dictating the tempo, and I think him and Creswell in a game like this could link up quite well. On the left, I'd play Saïd Benrahma again. Perfect game for him. He's a good dribbler against poor defenders, and I think this is the sort of game he can get a lot of joy out of. As we know, he's a massive confidence player as well, and I think this is a perfect game for building confidence. Up front, Gianluca Scamacca, and on the right, I think Jared Bowen will play again. So it's not completely changed over, and I am a bit worried that we're overplaying some players that we'll really need in the league, but unfortunately, we just don't have squad depth. With the likes of Cornet injured in the front line, especially. Bowen and Benrahma are probably going to have to play.
Yeah, this is the one I was going to come back to, Cornet, in a second. But really quickly, Alan Dunn saying about the fact they won't sack him, the board regardless of penny pinching misers that don't care about the fans. It costs them in the long run. to a certain extent, I do agree, and I desperately don't want to make this show about talking about Moyes constantly. But what I would say is that there were managers out there, and I saw a great comment on Twitter the other day that said, if half of you knew who De Zerbi was before Brighton got him, everybody would have turned their nose up at him. But he's improved that Brighton team, and he showed us why at the weekend. And that's still with selling some of their better players in the last window. Before we do get onto the team, or my team, I would say, Eamon saying Scamacca up front with Mabama, Fornals on the left, Cornet on the right, Lanzini as the attacking midfielder, Downs with Johnson, saying never be Moyes in. I think this is the problem, isn't it? Half the people have genuine issues with what Moyes will do. I think that a lot sort of comes down to it mainly is what we would all choose versus what Moyes would do. Joe also Scamacca can't hit a barn in the Premier League. Well, how many goals did he get before he was injured, and how many games did he play? I know he's missed a couple of months, but realistically, for the price we paid for him,
no service as well.
he has had no service, but for that price, I think you start seeing a little bit more of that. In terms of my team, the big one for me was I was so worried about what we saw at the weekend, and I know Ogbonna came up a little bit lame as well. So I think obviously Areola, even though he looked a bit shaky, I would still have, like you, we're down to Aged, and then it'd be Kera. I'd try Cresswell maybe on the left, but then again, I really liked what I saw of Emerson the last few weeks. But obviously, again, the weekend probably didn't help that. Johnson, probably the worst performance I've seen in a West Ham shirt this season. I mean, that was, as games go, that was pretty bad, Alf. How many individual errors was it leading to goals? I don't know, 2, 3.
Yeah, well, at least he had a hand in 3.
Yeah.
Like the first goal, it was his fault as well as Bowen because he missed the ball. Second goal, he weren't marking his man. Third goal, we left him open at the back post. Fourth goal weren't his fault.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that, again, is something that we've needed to address for God knows how many transfer windows now either as well. So, squad depth, especially at right back, we're probably going to have to play Johnson. Unless he wants to risk Zuma. The only reason I wouldn't be playing Zuma in this match is obviously I don't want to rush him back again from injury. I'm pretty sure everybody would feel the similar, especially somehow again after signing centre-backs, we're down to literally, if Ogbonna has actually picked up a niggle at the weekend, we're down to 1-2 fit centre-backs, which is just it's mad. Centre of the park, I think I agree with Alfie on this one. If we're going to have possession-based football, I don't think Thomas Souček can play. He has looked, apart from the weekend, I'll put a big asterisk next to it, he has looked better in recent weeks when Moyes has pushed him further forward. I'm not saying he's back to his old self because I don't think any of us know what that was. But I think he's looked a lot better, but not enough for me to start. I'd be tempted to start Rice and Downs in midfield. Part of me wants to not play Declan Rice. Yes, he's obviously our best player, but I think the comments as well that he made at the weekend is, a difficult one. Some people say it was pointed at the journalists, others say at the fans.
Others would say some of the fans deserved it. Others would say they didn't deserve it.
And whilst you're hiding behind the camera, it's very easy to say that, Alfie. But yeah, I think for me, I think Ben Rama would probably on the left, Bowen and Scamacca. But then again, do you then play Paqueta, Lanzini? Someone needs to be able to provide that service for Scamacca as well. But I don't think it will be too heavily changed. In terms of scoreline, though, Alfie, and again in the chat, everybody, before I got that, he's got 3 goals, 1 goal less than our top scorer, joint with another 3 players, yet nowhere near the same amount of games or minutes. Fair enough, but at the end of the day, maybe that's just on us for having a poor goal scoring season. De Zerbi at Sassuolo, potentially, yes. I didn't see him before. Again, I was probably one of those people that turned their nose up at him. But Alfie, score lines, what are we saying? Are we coming home with a 3 or 4-0 thrashing, or is it going to be a tightly contested game for a team that we know absolutely nothing about, which is fantastic?
3-0 West Ham United, celebrations all over the watch long. Mr. Moyes getting 9 out of 9 wins in the Conference League, and a few people taking notice of his incredible European record.
A competition that he's not yet lost in. So, I mean, yeah, 2-0 says Irish Tommy. Sorry, this show this evening is a bit of an absolute mess. That's my fault. I should have been more prepared for this, especially with stats or something about Larnaca. We won't finish just yet, though. I'm going to say 2-0 as well. I mean, if we come out with that, with anything other than a dominant performance, I think is just... I'd be shocked, but not surprised. Alfie, would you be surprised if it was another sort of like drag of a performance, players not playing for the manager again, or are you fully confident that it will be at least 2-3, 4-0? Mad, he's disappeared. I'd love to know what he did in between him answering the last question and now. Oh, there he is, and he's back again.
Apologies, everyone.
Because I can't see you, that's why I don't know whether or not you're... Yeah, go
on. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a crap performance. I think even in the 8 games we've won in the Conference League so far this season, I'd say we've played well in about half of them, if I'm honest. Even that game we played against FCSB away, we won 3-2. And to be honest, they're absolutely terrible. I think they lost every other game. And they lost 5-0 to Anderlecht. So I wouldn't be surprised if we play terrible. But I'd be surprised if we don't get the win. Don't get me wrong. This is the sort of game where the opposition are so poor that we should be able to play poorly and win. And to Epic, I respect anyone's opinion on Moyes. I still believe he's a smart manager, but he's lost the plot at the moment, sadly.
Yeah, I think that's when you know it's bad, is if myself and Alfie are here on a stream saying that he's lost the plot a bit, especially for how much we supported him over the year. Yeah, history is telling me, and the sides that we're sort of playing in this competition, is we should be winning this game comfortably. But every time you start to get a little belief, like the Forest, I remember we sat here last week after the Forest game when we did the show when I was filling in for James. I said, is this a sort of turning point, or are we just looking too deeply into the result? It turns out when we were all sort of saying, no, this is it. This is the time that we're going to turn around. We were looking too much into that result because then we got absolutely dicked at the weekend. And obviously...
I don't think we played that. I genuinely, people were saying we've turned it around. And I was actually one of the people who wasn't back in the team for once, which is usually the opposite. I think we played similar to how we played in the Forest game in most games this season. But the only thing was in the Forest game, we were very clinical in the last 20 minutes. Most games this season, we've been average for 70 minutes and then turned it up at the end. I can name you so many examples now. Southampton, away, we had so many chances, couldn't put them away and ended up drawing 1-1. Liverpool, 1-0 loss. So many chances, last 20 minutes.
Problem is, though, Alfie, I think there's got to come a certain point. Like I said, although, yes, the blame lies with Moyes at the weekend for how we performed and how we set the team up, but the players also do have to take that accountability as well, because it feels like every single week we're sort of sat here saying the same thing, which is, yeah, we've created the chances, but we haven't scored. But then again, the weekend, I think our XG was like 0.3 or something absolutely ridiculous.
The weekend was just I can't even defend that. That was just
so now am I looking at that and am I saying, am I going to look too deeply into that result, or are we going to use this as motivation and go on from there? I think part of me wants to, but again, I think it annoys me more when I hear comments, and I've seen it on Twitter this week from Hugh and Sean that do Claret and Hugh stuff, that they're unwilling to sack him at the moment, and there's the faith because of the money situation and stuff. And I think it's rubbish, especially when managers like De Zerbi were out there, but we would have turned our nose up. One person I know that probably knew about De Zerbi and was banging on about him is James Snedden, because that man knows everything about everyone.
James Snedden is the hidden scout in Europe.
He's the hidden scout in Europe. He was mentioning De Zerbi before he went to Brighton, and I will give him that.
The Doncaster Destroyer must be snapped.
So yeah, and that's another thing. The money tied in with the fact that they can sell the club now without having to pay windfalls of tax and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I don't think that is right still behind the scenes that's going on at the club. But I think all of that will start coming out in the next few months anyway, depending on what happens with David Gold's shares and stuff. But anyway, I'm getting completely distracted because I really don't have anything to talk about of Larnaca. Anything to add, Alfie, about tomorrow night's game? Anything in the chat that people want to ask about tomorrow that we can talk about for tomorrow? I think we're both fairly confident that we're going to at least win by 2 or 3 goals to nil. Has Tom Donnacouan taken over for James? I haven't. I think this is because James is absolutely sweated blood, sweat, and tears into this channel for the last however long. And he's not taking a break at all. He's still here. Don't worry. He's just sharing the responsibilities.
Tomorrow, don't worry. He'll be on the watch.
Yeah, he's sharing the responsibilities, but I'm sure he's in the background watching, and that's all we need to know.
To excite everyone, if we go on a win streak, I'll do a show myself on how Mr. Moyes has turned
Euro expert is a BTEC James Snedden. He's also a ginger BTEC James Snedden. That adds to it. Irish Tommy is saying it's not our job to know about managers around Europe. The club should know about them. We don't do our due diligence. It's very true. And I also saw actually this week as well that we lost one of our main talent ID scouts or something. Was it, Alfie? Did you read about that? The Athletic posted something that he's joined Newcastle, I think.
Well, talent ID couldn't get any worse. I'm not too bothered about that.
No, but it's another one. You know, we seem to make great strides in setting up and what's his face when he went out to Brazil and stuff like that. That's another one. If anybody's actually seen Luizão since then, because we're in need of a centre back, but I saw him once on the team sheet for one of the 21 games or development squad games, and I haven't seen him since. I think the only thing that keeps Mr. Moyes is us winning the Conference League. To survive relegation won't do it. Problem is to do, I guess, to sacrifice the other. That's true, but can you see him staying on? If that was to happen, hypothetically, Alfie, could you actually see him staying on next season? I think no matter what happens, whether we win this or not, I think we mutually part ways in the summer.
If we win the Conference League and stay up, Moyes will stay. I'll just make that
genuinely
1,000,000%, yeah, because you got to think the board don't look into the games as much as fans do. They'll see we've won our first trophy in over 40 years. They'll also see that we've stayed in the league, which obviously isn't good enough, but we've won a trophy. They'll be like, great, we've won a trophy. We're in Europe again. Back Mr. Moyes. They don't have to go out there and get a new manager who, let's face it, will probably be on a wealthier pay than Mr. Moyes. So they'll back him, won't they? If we win this conference, he will stay.
Victory against Euro Giants Larnaca will be the turning point. You heard it here first. You beat Larnaca. That's it. We're going with the second half of the season. We're doing a title charge.
Well, if he beats Larnaca, interestingly, he'll be on 9 out of 9 wins in the Conference League this season.
That's great, but if we get relegated, none of that matters.
Yeah.
You see, this is why he's here in the background. You see, does tomorrow's game give us confidence with Villa? In my head, I had thought about that. Do you know what though? I'm going to say I'm interested to see what the chat says. Obviously, James is the one asking this question. I don't think so, because I don't think we can judge tomorrow or anything that we've done in this competition on the Premier League, because yes, we've won 8 out of 8, or sorry, not even 8 out of 8, 6 out of 6 games in the conference, but none of that form has ever transitioned to the Premier League at any stage this season, has it, Alfie? You know, we've had good wins away, but then we've come back, you know, from those midweek games, and we have absolutely, you know, either been pulled from pillar to post by teams, or, you know, so for me, especially, you know, even though it's a game that we should be winning against Larnaca, if we do win, I don't think it has any bearing on the league at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think although Mr. Moyes has been and the players, have been incredible in Europe this year, we've been a disgrace in the league. So you'd expect us to win most of these European games. I don't think it's had a reflection in the league, because that just shows how different the quality of opposition is. And remember, we're playing a complete different style. We're the superior team on the ball in most of these games. So we're having a lot of the ball, spraying it about the back. It's a bit of a walk in the park for some players. We get to the next week, play a Premier League team whose squad is worth 10 times the price, and suddenly it's an even game. We can't play the same way. The confidence is shot after 5 minutes. There you go, game over.
Yeah. And I think again that comes down to what putting our eggs into one basket. But at the same time, we do need to focus on the league because we are in a pretty dangerous position, and we've got games against Arsenal and Man City coming up as well, and we have games to be played that we should realistically, regardless of maybe where we are, but if on paper the squad that we've got, we should be competing in these games. But it scares me when we've played against Brighton how good they've looked under De Zerbi, and then you've got a game against Unai Emery's new Aston Villa side as well. So the new manager bounce, I guess, because I think they won last weekend as well. Are you going back on the Hammers Chat watch long? No, I ended my tenure at Hammers Chat a couple of years ago now.
He's a fully fledged D20 fan now. But
yeah, he's made the switch over here. But yeah, I love my time over there. But sadly, that one come to an end. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost this match. Neither would I, to be honest with you. Epic, I can't actually lie. Worst season under Moyes. Perfect scenarios. You two could win the Conference League, but he needs to go. He won't stay either, as Sullivan will be gone. No way on earth Krasinski keeps him. I hope not. I think the time, if we do stay up and we keep hold of some of our more, I would say, attacking and creative players and use the money wisely with potentially deck sale to be reinvested into the squad, I think we've got to look at a younger manager. I think it's about time, or at least a manager who has some, either like Will Still or Michael Carrick or someone like that, but somebody that wants to play an attacking style of football. I think that's kind of what we've needed.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure everyone, I know a lot of people don't like Moyes now, but I'm devastated it's not worked out, because for me, Mr. Moyes, when he joined the club, he sort of became our saviour at the time, and it's just completely flipped on its head. It's a sad scenario.
Yeah. Does it make him our greatest ever manager if we've delivered 3 years and we won a trophy?
He's definitely up there.
Well, I guess probably modern day he's probably one of our best managers, but I think the older heads, either in the chat or about, would probably still argue that John Lyle and Ron Greenwood and those guys were before their time and were fantastic managers.
Even if he has a poor season this year, providing he don't go down, he's better than what we've had in the years previous. Like Bilic, I'm sorry, I love Bilic as person. He's a horrendous manager. That Big Sam, he's better than Big Sam. He's obviously better than Pellegrini as well. So, yeah, we've not had the best of luck with managers. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Don't think winning tomorrow is any improvement on that. Again, it was a bit of a false dawn. I think we've kind of all agreed that was probably what happened. No impact. And that's the thing. I don't think there's no confidence really from any of us. Winning something, keeping Moyes is like getting drunk, have a really good time, and waking up in jail. Not like that. It sounds like you're speaking from experience there. If we beat a scrappy Larnaca team 1-0, is it time to start West Ham a massive every go again? Yeah, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, on Twitter this week that's a bit of an embarrassing thing. But the thing is, no West Ham fan ever thought we were massive to begin with. And if it pisses people off, like the TalkSport studio guys, I'm all for it. Only bearing it.
1 second, Richard. I'm not trolling it. He genuinely has done better than Bilic, Pellegrini, all of them on paper. Obviously, we can improve on him. I agree. I think someone like, in my opinion, I don't know what you think, Tom, but I think Michael Carrick would.
Yeah, I'm at the point now. I'm going to start sounding like half the people in the chat that have been smashing me for months about David Moyes and that it was time to go before Christmas. I think at this present moment, you could probably give the job to any single person that's in here watching tonight. I could probably give it to my 4-month-old son, and I think he would do a better job than what David Moyes is currently getting out of these players. I'm not going back on all the stuff and the positive stuff I said about Moyes, but it's almost like, what's that quote from Batman? You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That's kind of what I'm feeling now with David Moyes. So I'm using a Batman line, but that's how I feel about Moyes at the moment. West Ham are passive. I like that. That actually could catch on. It's like playing in the Papa John's until the quarter semis. Yes, Lazio did lose last night though to AZ Alkmaar. So I think what we saying, Alfie, if we don't win it, but we do stay up, are we saying minimum final for this competition at least?
If we don't win it, we got to get to the final. Flipping hell. I'm sorry, these teams are shocking.
To be fair, I only really see that really it's Nice and Lazio, isn't it? That's in it.
Yeah. Nice, Lazio, Larnaca.
I'll take Will Still or Jake. I in my head I can imagine which Jake you're talking about. I think Will Still. Everybody know this is another one though. Nobody knew about Will Still until he started going on the winning streak, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's doing a fantastic job though. I will say that. I don't see why Vincent Company would come for us. I think he's got Man City sort of 2.0 written all over him. I think when Pep leaves, I think Company will go to Man City because they'll play a similar style of football. Lou Macari, Skamaka needs a few tomorrow. Lyle won the FA Cup, finished third in 86, 4 points behind Liverpool. The saviour. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the chat. Being the second division winning the FA Cup was a bigger achievement. Being a top division winning a cup. Have we managed to win the league this season straight after a Europa Conference League? Have we? I thought you said have we managed to win the league? Have we managed to win the league this season straight after the Europa Conference game? See, these are the things that I probably should have done prior and had an actual look at. Usually, I would trust Alfie to tell me whether or not we have. Send your complaints to Noah because we'll blame him for today for teething. But yes, I don't know. I mean, our league position would probably state that we haven't really done well after we've won a game in the Conference League. Win ratio now, though, Alfie, is lower than the managers you've just mentioned.
He's had a shocking season, but the previous two, in my opinion anyway, cannot go under the radar.
Do you think, though, or is, again... I'm at the point now where I'm questioning the last couple of seasons under David Moyes, and I know I shouldn't be. I know. It's shocking. I feel like a proper traitor. I can't lie. Yeah, I feel like a real horrible man at the moment. But I'm questioning the last 2 years under it because even though we won games and it was fantastic, and I feel like there was more people pissed off with him when we were winning. Or not more people, but I feel like people were still pissed off with him when we were winning as they are now.
No, Tom, people were. And people were starting to... If I speak on that, I'm in big trouble. So we'll leave that bit there. But yeah, people weren't happy with him when he was winning games as well.
That's very true. And people have been waiting to light their torches for a long time. We'll wrap this up in a second because, again, I think, unfortunately, because there's not really much to say about Larnaca and other than probably we should be winning tomorrow, I think more to the point, it's kind of the conversation's always going to revert back to David Moyes, which is fine. But it's a bit boring now, only simply because I think we've got to a point where everybody wants a change. But the last thing I will ask you, Alfie, is that if we do lose tomorrow night and we do sack him, are we too late into the season to sack a manager? Because realistically, the options that we could attract now is surely a lot slimmer, and it will have to be someone like a Fat Sam or someone like that maybe to keep us up. Yeah. I'm not saying we should be Fat Sam, but have we maybe waited too long to sack him? Lose?
We've waited too long, but if we lose tomorrow night, he's got to be sacked, and I'd just get a temporary in for the rest of the season and hope he keeps us up. Like, I don't even know. Get me in if you want.
I'm all right. But name an actual realistic manager that you think that we could attract.
There isn't one. I wouldn't want a manager just out of fear that he does well and then GSB keep him. So I'd literally want a caretaker that just about keeps us up.
Can I throw a caretaker at you? And I don't know, again, I'm going to throw this into the chat as well. Mark Noble.
No.
Kevin Nolan, Mark Noble, and those guys. What do you say to
that? Personally, I'd say not a chance, but I know that people would like that. But I genuinely, I hate to say this, and I know people aren't going to like it, but I just say what I think. I think Mark Noble had brilliant technique. He was technically a great footballer. But I think his football brain actually let him down a lot. I'm not going to lie, I really do think it did. Like, people say he was slow, and he was slow, but other players have made up for that. And I think he could have because he was technically so good. But I think his football brain's not that great. I've not seen anything from a director of football to see he's got a great eye for talent or anything like that. Tactically, I don't know what he's like. So, yeah, not for me.
Everyone's torn, and I have, for some reason, just seen Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's name mentioned. I don't even want to go down that path. I don't think I could do it. Moyes' style of play is horrible, but fans will put in when it's effective, which was. As soon as it's not, the fans will turn, can't play shite football and lose games. That's true. It's true, but like I said, there was a lot of fans ready to light the torch paper, I think.
I cannot believe what I've just seen.
I'll get there in a second, because I can't believe what I've just seen. All right, Ginger Nut, is that me? And if it is, fair enough. I do need to let my beard grow out a little bit. Is the comment this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Just quickly then, before we do that, why not?
I think that's the last person I'd get in. He's a crap manager. Our fans seem to have some obsession with him. I remember people were suggesting him before he got the Bruges job. Like, genuinely, West Ham Central and people like that on Twitter were like, let's get Scott Parker. Scott Parker, he's crap. He's absolutely tosh. He lost 9-0 to Bournemouth. He lost 5-1 to Liverpool. He lost 5-1 last night. The only thing he does is the occasional motivational team talk, which gets recorded in the changing rooms. He's clueless. I don't care if he was our best player when we got relegated. Not a chance.
Heard it here first. That's a no, I think, from Alfie with Scott Parker. Yeah, I think, again, I'll quickly bring it back round to tomorrow night. Again, I'm trying desperately not to go off topic, but unfortunately, this is kind of the only thing that people want to talk about at the moment. And I feel like we're back at square one again. It's actually been nice to sort of be a West Ham fan maybe the last 2 years, but now it feels like we are well and truly back to where we belong. And that is average at best. Yes, Luca, big up 52 views. Thank you, obviously, everybody that's tuned in to watch this absolute shambolic preview. Don't forget, if you are here, drop a like on the video, subscribe. It helps James out and the boys, obviously, massively as well. But tomorrow night, final thoughts, Alfie. What are you thinking ahead of tomorrow?
My final thought is that we must win, and if we don't, I fear, and I'm upset to say, but I think we will see the back of the silver fox, Mr. Moyes.
I'm going to pretend like that wasn't aimed at me.
No.
Somebody just mentioned
Yeah. It was in my head. Yeah, it was in my head.
All right. Anyway, quickly before we go as well, I don't know if you've heard recently, and I know James would probably say something similar if he was streaming, but a fan, I think the other day, fell from one of the coaches in Larnaca or something, and is in a very serious condition or whatnot. So if we do find out who that is or whatever, we obviously send our thoughts their way, because nobody should go to football and not come back, as you know, history has told us. So yes, all our thoughts are over there with them. Stay safe to all the away fans traveling. And the big question is, obviously, will this tomorrow night be Moyes' last game in charge, or will we take a positive
by the way,
the second day? Oh, fuck, you just ruined my outro. Yeah, I was gearing up to something, Alfie.
This is going to be good, right? I'm sure James will be fine with this, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get loads of promo for the channel now. Get this video to 70 likes. I'm not even joking. Get all your friends to like it, everyone to like it. And get them all to sub to the channel, please. Like, I want to see loads of subs over the next couple of days to prove that this has happened. 70 likes, loads of subs, and what we'll do is an E20 karaoke night, live and stream. So do it.
It's the second week in a row I've not landed on this twice. I've hosted 2 times for James in his absence, and 2 times I was unable to land. Thank you as well. Sorry, Irish Tommy, I see that, and as well, Ian. Yeah, congratulations is fine, except when they've started teething, then it's just the dribbling and stuff everywhere. That's all right. Next time, and I promise this to James, next time I do come back, it will be a lot more prepared, as I kind of was in the first one today. An absolute shambles. But anyway, will this be David Moyes' last game in charge for us tomorrow night, or will we be taking back a positive result to London Stadium. I want to thank my guest, Alfie, tonight for his amazing insight as always. I want to thank the chat as well. And don't forget, if there are 70 likes on this video, then you will have the promise of a karaoke night where I think only at this point. Oh my God. All right, Alfie, I should have just muted you. You may have a karaoke night. We'll have to see. From me and Alfie, in the words of James Fever, bye for now.
70 likes, people. Let's do it.
I've never found a love like this. There it is. I've never found a love